It's no secret that Canada benefits in the past from commodity boons. High oil price, base metal prices provided good jobs and strong revenues for both companies and governments. Of course, in the span of the last year, the tide turned. China's slowdown sent prices plummeting, and with it, the momentum driving Canada's resource-reliant economic engine. Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Poloz addressed that issue in Calgary today.
There are lessons that we can take from previous price cycles. Now, the most important of these is the value of our monetary policy framework. And we can't do much about resource price shocks, but our policy can help the economy adjust to them. Now, in particular, our floating exchange rate helps absorb some of the impact of these price movements, and it sends signals that facilitate future adjustments.
It's like poetry, really. A year ago, the price of West Texas Intermediate was around $90 US a barrel. Today, it's sitting closer to $45. Crude oil remains Canada's top exporting commodities, make up about 17% of the economy, according to the Bank of Canada. The petroleum labor market information claims low energy prices could cost as many as 185,000 jobs, or 25% of the 720,000 workers in Canada linked to the oil patch, and that's this year alone. One silver lining from the commodity rout, policymakers expect our lower dollar will boost exports of manufactured goods. Time for E Squared. Tom Rand is the Senior Advisor of Mars Clean Tech Venture Group. Ken Green, Senior Director for the Centre of Natural Resource Studies with the Fraser Institute. And Tom, I'll confess I was a little disappointed not to hear a kind of a bit of a vision about what we can do here, because I think all Canadians have woken up to the fact, and it's not a new one. We've had booms and busts before, but here we are, and we're having a bit of a bust at a time when the whole world is saying, yeah, well, let's not use that stuff anyway. This could be a real long-term problem. Yeah.
So back in the 90s, early 2000s, one of Canada's most accomplished citizens, Dr. John Evans, he's the founder of Mars, was thinking about the problem of how is it that we maximize economic activity from R&D, right? How do we make a switch to a tech economy? And the primary stat that he started, the primary insight that he started with was Canada bats with the best of them in terms of developing intellectual property. The number of patents and the quality of patents, we can match Boston, New York, San Francisco, Israel, Singapore, anybody. Yep. But we generate 1/10 of the economic activity, jobs and capital, per patent than our American cousins and other competitors around the world. So the question was, how do you solve that problem? Now, it's complex. There are different market gaps and different ways of accelerating technology companies into global markets, depending on whether you're talking about life sciences or clean tech or IT. My specialty is clean tech, but that's really why Mars exists. It says, how is it that we compete with Silicon Valley and ensure that when we go through, that our economy is slightly more robust than hewers of wood and sellers of water, or whatever the expression is. Okay, so let's pause there and let me bring Ken in and say, Ken, did you hear what you expected to hear about, I mean, this, to me, to say our dollar will fall, our commodity-based currency will fall, and that will help export manufacturing, seems to be a little facile, given that just the structural size of our manufacturing footprint has shrunken so much in the last 15 years. It can't actually offset the benefit we saw from commodities.
Well, I'm not an economist, and I'll leave some of the more esoteric economics to my colleagues at Fraser Institute. But basically, what I heard in the speech I thought was interesting, in that he pointed out that Canada is a resource power, economic resource, natural resource power in the past, and that he expects it to continue. And so he doesn't, in the speech, he does not think that we're going to have a permanent, protracted bottom in the oil and natural resource sector. He thinks that we're still immersed in the normal cyclical process. But his emphasis, and I think it's the right one, is that if you have natural resources, how you build the regulatory structure around them, how you save your revenues for rainy days or for the inevitable cyclical nature, how you diversify across natural resources so that some are going really well while some are not doing so well. That's in fact the case in Canada now, as he points out in his speech. So I think his basic message was, we're down now, we'll come back, and we just want to make sure we get our infrastructure, our institutions I should say, right, so that when we come back, we can reduce the shock of future downturns.
I guess that, Ken, I'm going to stay with you and just say that's the part I found disappointing, just in the sense that we know we need to diversify our economy. Even if we were going to be an energy superpower, there simply aren't enough of those jobs to feed us all and keep the economy growing. It's a fairly small and getting smaller because of the amount of technology in extraction. So why not actually have a real clear industrial policy? Why not say, as the godfather of Silicon Valley was pointing out to me just a few days ago, this this stuff doesn't happen without government support, and governments have to get very specific about how they're going to do it. It isn't this sort of lower taxes and let it all happen. That doesn't work. These are really bright kind of capitalist minds saying you have to actually pick ponies and invest in them and make stuff happen. Why can't we be having that conversation in this country?
Well, we can. The question is it going to be grounded in sort of just naive optimism that governments can pick winners and bring them to market? Or are we going to look at the experience with widespread industrial policy as it played out in Japan and in other countries around the world, where for every winner Mitty picked in Japan, for example, there were multiple losers? And so, and you also risk subsidizing things that are going to give you side effects you don't necessarily want, right? Subsidization of highway systems gets you more air pollution. Subsidization of trains got you more sprawl and things like that. So if we're going to have those discussions, I think it needs to be with clear eyes and with deeply grounded in the experience of what's happened around the world, and not the rah-rah gung-ho tech sector call for government interaction and government support, which is, of course, everybody wants that.
So Canada currently exports more clean tech than beef. The reason not many people know that is clean tech as a sector is not really recognized by Ottawa. It's not in the statistical database, right? It isn't peeled off as something we want to look at. But we export more clean tech than beef.
What does that look like? What are we actually exporting?
$12 billion in exports. But what's important is the trend. In 2005, we had 2.2% of global market share of a $500 billion market, clean tech. We now have a 1.3% market share of a $1 trillion market. So we've gone up a little bit, but our market share has dropped by 3/4. There's lots of different reasons for that. It's complex, but I can give you some sort of hints. I mean, we're pretty good at seeding that industry, but we're not good at acknowledging there is a role for government to play in accelerating that sector. And if you don't exist in the database of the financial ministry, there's no way for them to grapple with that. So an example might be, in the stimulus of 2008-2009, our stimulus had no targeted clean tech in it at all. You could buy a rug from China, put it in your living room, and that was part of a stimulus. South Korea focused very clearly on clean tech because they saw it as a strategically important sector. What we need to begin to do with wide open and clear eyes is understand that this sector is 80% more likely to export than its peers, spends more on R&D than the entire oil and gas sector combined, is already targeted to be larger than our automotive or aerospace sectors by 2020. So that's a pretty clear indication that this sector needs some attention, and I think obviously intelligent sort of support structures like export acceleration and so on would help, right? But first we have to acknowledge it exists. It's an alternative to exporting commodities. It's high value and is already fairly large, but we're losing market share very rapidly to other countries. So
that's one example, Ken. There are dozens and dozens of other industries where you could say, so whether it's creating government-backed VC funds or whether it's actually creating export programs, very direct targeted support, why not go down that road?
Well, of course, as you pointed out, the cattle producers would make the same argument, which is if you give us more support, you smooth export processes, will bring even more money to Canada, and so can every natural resource and virtually every industrial sector. What I would suggest is that we don't have the government picking winners and losers because we know from experience that doesn't really work. What works best is having the market identify winners, having it attract private capital, and having those things take their place in the market.
I couldn't agree more.
And, Tom,
right.
with Tom,
sorry,
it's totally great we have a green tech sector that's booming. I have no problem with that. And I would love to see it boom 10 times as strongly.
But can I just clarify one thing? I mean, you use some really good examples of a highway structure and a we could say a high-speed internet. The way Silicon Valley happened, as we all know, is because the U.S. was doggedly pursuing investment in military R&D, and the outcome of that didn't win the Cold War. Two old men won the Cold War, but in the end, that investment in that one project had all these great externalities. Why not pick a project? I don't know what maybe it's clean tech, but maybe it's something else. But why not have a big project and understand that it may not be the goal, but the externalities would be the goal?
Right. Well, that's the thing, which is the internet was not actually ever intended to become a civilian product. It was never envisioned to be what it is. It was a system designed to withstand nuclear attack because it had huge redundancy in its communication protocols, and it was expected to mostly be used by government laboratories and universities, and maybe some governments. But so that's the point, which is the government didn't say, hey, let's build this great internet thing.
Fair enough.
The market built the great internet thing.
Sure.
And I would say also, I just want to say military R&D, we could have a great conversation about this because it is so grounded in survival statistics of your military. I think it's held much more closely seriously to realistic visions of what can be done and what can be achieved.
So all I'm really saying is, we don't have to pick actual winners and losers, but let's acknowledge that clean tech is a fast and growing sector in a global market that is growing faster than almost any other sector. It doubled between 2005 2013 to $1 trillion. It would be smart economic policy to open our eyes to that possibility and provide this at least the same kind of support to that sector as we do others.
All right, we got to live there. That's E Squared. Tom Rand, Ken Green. Thanks to both.